Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Owl House, Season 2, Episode 6. So, we had a doozy of an episode last time, but I still stand by the fact that they really should have made the Luz and Amity stuff an A-plot. The actual A-plot, while not bad by any means, just felt so less important, honestly. The Luz and Amity stuff have been an ongoing thing and have been fairly important to the overall story and as well as the representation that's showcased in this series. So having it kind of act as a B plot, very clearly a B plot, to Gus and Bartholomew having an adventure and finding value in his type of magic. It's nice, it's cute, and it was well done. But it just doesn't seem as important. It gives a little bit of development to Gus, I will admit that, and that's a good thing. Because honestly, admittedly, while I like Gus, he has been the least developed character out of our main cast. And in my opinion, the weakest. Not that he's bad by any means. I like him, and he fits into the group really well. But he needs more focus. He needs more screen time. And the last episode did that, but it also did it at the expense of the Lumity stuff. And considering the Lumity stuff is probably the biggest appeal for most fans at this point. Not that everything else isn't an appeal, but you know what I'm saying. With it being probably the biggest appeal for most fans, I feel like they really need to focus on it as more of an A plot to a story rather than a B plot. I feel like making it a B plot just does not work. It makes no sense. So, that being said, what we did get was still great. Even if it was relegated to a B plot, the actual story of it all, the development for their relationship, all of it was still fantastic. And we got our first kiss. Even if it was just a kiss on the cheek, it was still a kiss. And it was just the pure definition of just wholesomeness. And a scene that, without question, made my gay little heart flutter. And so many others as well. It's all over. I'm really glad that I blocked out a lot of spoilers on Twitter. A lot of spoiler tags. I'm glad that people are using spoiler tags because it was everywhere. I looked it up afterwards. Everyone was talking about it. And it's just wow, okay. I get why. I very much get why. I talked about it plenty too. But it's geez, I'm glad I blocked those spoiler tags. So we move on to this episode, and per usual, I know nothing about it because as I've said in the past, like to go into things as blind as possible. I don't watch trailers for the most part. With most of these shows, I don't look up episode synopsises beforehand. I go in as blind as possible because I feel it yields the best result, and especially in reactions, I feel it yields the best reaction when you go in blind. And I want to give you guys the best reactions. So, yeah. And there's already been plenty of shows on this channel where I have gotten spoiled stuff, especially big stuff, prior to seeing it, including Season 1 of The Owl House, which I had been spoiled, as you know, to the Grom fight, Grom Knights, whatever it is, dance in the first place. So there was that. that I really wish I hadn't been spoiled to, but oh well. Either way, I'm excited to see where this goes because this season so far has been pretty darn good. It's really kind of separated itself from season one, and has, in like a lot of shows out there that I've seen, has really started to come into its own. Has really started to just find its identity and really lean into that. It's definitely going harder much more quickly than season one did. It's not wasting any time, and that's good to see. Um, I feel like in that same vein, it's kind of like what Gravity Falls did, which, Alex Hirsch involved with both shows. Except obviously Gravity Falls only had 2 seasons, while this one's at least having 3, though one is being unfortunately cut short, but still. Um, so, but I feel like just the tone of the series has noticeably changed, which again did happen in Gravity Falls as well. And a lot of shows have done that, but that one was definitely where it was super noticeable, and it's kind of the same here. Well, yeah, there's a lot of the same kind of humor and goofiness and all. It's definitely a lot more serious and a lot more focused so far than season one was. But to be fair, we are only on episode 6 out of 20 something. I think it's 21, but I'm not confident in that. But either way, there's room for this season to still even get better and better. And it's like, we'll have to see how it goes. And I'm really wondering if now that Amity has purple hair, if one, that's going to stay. I really hope it does because honestly, it's kind of important to her character with her forging her own identity away from what her mother wants for her. And if it does stay, I wonder if they're going to change that in the opening. Will the opening reflect her new hair color and style? Or will it retain the old one? Some shows will definitely do that kind of thing, would definitely update the opening when something like that happens. But there's also some shows that just wouldn't. My thinking is because this did happen so early in the season, they might. They might have that planned for, and they might have a second version of the opening. That's going to be pretty much the same, of course, but just have Amity's new hairstyle and color in it. I'm hoping that's the case because otherwise, especially if Amity does keep this hairstyle and color for the rest of the show, I feel like it would make no sense for the opening to still show her old hairstyle and color. It would just feel out of place at that point. Again, especially with this happening so early on in the season. Honestly, it would have made more sense if they just had spoiled it in the opening and had her with her new hair color and style in the opening at that point. Not that I would have wanted them to do that, but still. The best option here is that they just change it for the opening and we go from there. But we'll see. We'll see. So, that being said, we're just going to get this started and hope for the best with another hopefully great episode of this series. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. We are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I don't think this show will ever stop surprising me. That ending was so beautifully unexpected, yet so beautifully fitting, that I really, really love how it turned out. So in this episode, we get to meet Hunter. Truly meet him for the first time, the Golden Guard. And he is working for his uncle. Seems more of an honorary term than an actual familial connection. Um, and the goal he is given in this is to capture more palismans in order to just kind of fuel Belos's magic and seemingly life force. It appears that Belos requires devouring these palismans just to be able to live and function in any kind of way. But unfortunately, due to overharvesting, this palisman wood is very rare and hard to come by. Meaning that not only is he having trouble getting more, and because of that, they're having to steal the palismans being used for the schools to give their young witches in training staves. But it also means that Belos's plan to invade the human world almost kind of needs to happen as soon as possible for him. We know here that Belos's condition is due to wild magic. That something apparently happened in the past. And this is the entire reason why he is so controlling over how magic is practiced. That's made very clear. But I really want to know what happened and if he actually is the guy from that journal. The voice sounds very familiar. People have pointed that out with the last episode. And it's been a big theory that Belos is a human, or at least was a human. And honestly, I see it. Normally, with a lot of these theories, I think a lot of people are just really overreaching and just trying to see something that isn't there just because it sounds like an interesting idea. But this one I actually genuinely believe. I think that the evidence is there. And I think it just makes sense. But there's a lot of information we still don't have, and a lot of big stuff that has to be answered in regards to this. How did he end up like this, and why? Who or what did it to him? And why is he, like, so honestly evil now? Like, is there a reason he's going to these extremes, to acting so different from what he appeared to be like in his journal, just to make this happen? Is it just because he wants to be able to get back to the human world, or just because he wants to be able to get rid of this basically curse that he's under? And it seemed like, based on what we saw in the journal and everything, I'm thinking that the briefcase that Ida had that created the door to the other world, I'm very much thinking that was originally his, because it looked like the same design. And which means when Ida found it, that must have been like maybe shortly after, or even a long time after he had lost it. So there's a lot of questions that is kind of raised here. But through this episode, as I said, we get to see the palismans being given to witches. We get to see our main cast, except for Amity and Luz, get one. Amity being absent at the moment, and Luz not getting one because she doesn't really know what she wants to do. She has the most basic, broad goal: become a witch. But it's so basic and broad, it doesn't really actually explain anything. She doesn't actually know what she really wants in regards to that. So because of that, none of the palismans connect with her. And so we see her start to get worried and start to wonder about this. She goes to the palismans to try and spend the night with them, see if she can, like, connect with them. And that's when she gets involved with Hunter, and they end up getting attacked by Kikimora, who is just obviously jealous over Hunter. um, they end up having to work together to take her down and free the Palismans. And though at first he plans to take them back for Bellows still, he does end up letting Luz go. And so she gets away. But in the big surprise at the end, the Red Cardinal Palisman tells the Bat Queen that it discovered who it wants to be with, and after all this time and everything. And so obviously we think it's going to be Luz because it was with Luz the entire time, and so we think that's obviously going to be where this is going. But no, it's Hunter. Hunter is he receives a palisman. He already had a staff, but it wasn't a palisman staff. It was like made through science or something. But now he has a palisman, and it's very clear that he's on the path to redemption and path to being changed. It was such an interesting twist because it was obvious. We were thinking, oh yeah, that's obviously going to go to Luz. Oh yeah, everything is telling us this is going to be Luz's palisman. And then no, it's Hunter's. And it's like, oh. But not a bad surprise. In fact, just the opposite, a fantastic one. Because it helps develop Hunter's character. It helps him feel more interesting to us as the viewers. I mean, outside of just being, a charismatic golden guard. And it makes us kind of root for him. That this little palisman who had been without someone for so long finally found someone. And it's not who we expected, for one, but also one of the bad guys. It's just a fascinating angle to take, and I love it. Um, and I'm just really excited to see where this goes. And we still see that Luz is still wondering. Like, Ida and King bring her some palisman wood that they stole for her, but she's still unsure about where she wants to go, what she wants to do, what her goals are. She's questioning her future, her motives, her ideas, herself. And this is such a big, important thing for this series that already puts so much emphasis on hugely important topics such as queer representation. So often do we see characters in these shows or in anything pretty much rush into their identities, or they base their identities off of like being a chosen one or just off of basically an archetype. And in some cases that can work, but you kind of want more. You want a character to actually question things, to actually be unsure of who they are and who they want to be. And seeing Luz go through that, it's a good fucking move. And for a series that places so much emphasis on identity with the entire credo that this series has kind of created for itself of us weirdos got to stick together, it's important to show that kind of message in this, to just tell the viewers, young and old, that it's okay to question things, that you don't have to figure things out right away, not even at the same time as all your friends, that you can figure things out at your own pace and just take your time. It may be hard. You may not be as patient as you would like to be, but in the end, it will work out better for you than if you try to rush it. And I think that's what this is going to go for. when Luz does finally find her purpose and get her talisman, it's going to be something truly special. It's going to be something truly magnificent and groundbreaking. And it's going to truly make her a chosen one, not because she's destined and not because she's actually, chosen, but because she puts forth the effort to be that for those she cares for. She's going to save the Boiling Isles without question. That's obvious. But it's also obvious she's not going to do it alone. She has Gus, she has Willow, she has Amity. Obviously, Hunter is going to end up joining her. It's super clear. And so many others. In the end, I honestly feel like we're going to get a big climax to this series where things just go off the wall in the best possible way, kind of like how Gravity Falls did so with Weirdmageddon. It's going to be that big. And I've talked about this before. I think I talked about it last week, but I want to bring it up again. I dropped this show initially because of one specific thing bothering me. And mind you, again, as I've said before, I don't take back the fact that that bothered me. It did. I'm not going to argue about that. But I'm so glad that I got to pick it up again thanks to Smurf's donation. Because this is honestly a show with the potential to be not only on the level of Gravity Falls, but surpass it. This show has the potential to be one of the greatest cartoons ever. And Disney's trying to fuck it up by cutting that third season short. They're trying to fuck it up. I don't know if intentionally or not, but they are. And who knows if we'll get anything past that third season, that shortened third season. Who knows if we'll get anything past that? Who knows if we'll end up getting a fourth season or a movie or any expanded material like comics or whatnot. But you can bet your ass that even if we don't, Dana and the team are going to put forth their all into making whatever we get the best it can possibly be. This is episode fucking 6 of this series, or of this season. And we're having just non-stop, huge, important, groundbreaking scenes and information dropped. I mentioned in my pre-thoughts, I compared this to season 2 of Gravity Falls, on where it took a lot more of a serious tone and became a lot more important and huge in its storytelling. This is definitely that kind of thing. And who knows, it could be even bigger than that. Again, it depends on where it goes, but I believe in the crew on this. I think that they will deliver. In fact, I know they'll deliver. I just don't know exactly what that will be yet, or how much they'll deliver. But I know they will. And that is why we do need to support this series. And that includes on social media. Just the other day, as of recording this, just the other day, there was a trending hashtag on Twitter, Save the Owl House. And it was a big deal. People were saying like, oh, you gotta, starting at this time on this day, start tweeting about this. Start tweeting out this hashtag. Tell them why we want this show to continue, why it means so much to us, why it's so important. And we did that. I shared a couple posts on Twitter about it. I made my own. It's important. It's very clear how important this show is. And yet, because it doesn't fall under Disney's ideals and just what they want, they're trying to, again, whether intentionally or not, they are working to dismantle it. Just like with what happened to Nickelodeon and The Legend of Korra, how that show was absolutely fucked up by Nickelodeon's meddling and their refusal to allow Bryke to do what they wanted to make the show in the way that they wanted. They had to bend over backwards for Nickelodeon, and in the end, it fucked everything up. So, and again, I still think Legend of Korra was amazing despite that, but it's undeniable that Nickelodeon's interference, like, hurt that series. And I just don't want this series to suffer that way. It's too big, it's too important. We could possibly get a season 4. We could possibly get a movie or comics or merch or anything more at this point would be welcomed. But again, no matter what, keep supporting this show. Do your damnedest to support it and to show your support for Dana and the crew. And show not only Disney, but everyone that this is the kind of content we want. That these are the kind of shows that we want to see more of. From creators, this not only creative, not only just really inclusive, but creators this absolutely passionate about their creations and ones that will truly change animation for the better. Keep it up. And let's keep watching this amazing show. So for now, thank you all so much for tuning in. And not just supporting me, but for supporting Dana and the Owl House. Thank you. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.